Ria Chow, CEO, LSPediA. LSPedia's DSCSA exceptions pilot is aimed to identify and resolve DSCSA exceptions between trading partners. The qualified participants are manufacturers, wholesale distributors, dispensers, and healthcare providers who are LSPediA customers and non-customers. So I want to repeat, we do welcome non-customers because this pilot is really aimed to provide practical solutions for the entire supply chain. The scope of the pilot covers EPCS data issues, data exchange issues, and logistical issues such as product no data, data no product, product and data discrepancy at the event of receiving, picking, packing, shipping, or any other logistic transactions, also including cycle count and dispensing, etc. So the roles of the participating members are either participants or observers, right? Participants are members who will join and practice and apply the practical method to resolve errors and resolve exceptions, and observers will participate by listening in and providing feedback as to how they see this relates to them. So as we are implementing DSCSA toward the interoperability requirement effective November 27, 2023, the interoperability requirement requires transaction information and statement being exchanged utilizing EPCS GS1 standard EPCS data, right? So as of today, the EPCS data exchange is very much going on, but the volume is actually not very large compared to where we need to be. So we estimate about 5,000 files are being exchanged on a daily basis among trading partners. Now it can be CMO to manufacturer, manufacturer to 3PL, manufacturer to wholesaler, 3PL to wholesaler, 3PL to dispenser, you name it, right? So among all the trading partners, we do estimate the supply chain will have 100 times the current data. That's 500,000 data files being exchanged on a daily basis. And if these the exchanges have exceptions, this can really bring some complexity into the supply chain, right? So just even 1% of exceptions is a very large volume. 1% of 500,000 is 5,000, right? So 5,000 exceptions in the supply chain definitely will increase the complexity of the staffing and labor requirement, and it will lead to higher cost and possibly disruption. So no one wants to invest in their product and have their made and just get stuck in a supply chain, not being distributed and not being fulfilled, right, dispensed to the patient. So the current EPCS data era that LSPediA sees, and we do process a lot of EPCS data files for different types of trading partners, manufacturers, 3PLs, and wholesalers and dispensers. So we're seeing 12% error rate in the production. So if I apply this to the 500,000 projected volume after 2023, that's 60,000 supply chain issues that need to be resolved every day, right, by the trading partners. So that is significant. And in addition to that, if there are data issues, right, if the interoperability on the inbound is not there, it will really deteriorate for the person who is doing the downstream work, right? So if I'm receiving, I don't have that data, or if I'm picking, packing, shipping, I don't have that inbound interoperability data. That just means I will not be able to perform that transaction, because without inbound interoperability data, I won't be able to generate outbound interoperability data. So the goal of the pilot is to really helping the participants and the entire supply chain to learn different types of errors. The pilot will consolidate and compile different types of errors, and also know the steps to resolve these errors and issues, right? Not only that, not just the knowledge, but practically utilizing that knowledge in your company. Who, right? What organization? Whether is it supply chain, is it operation, is it compliance, is it QA, right? Who needs to be the owner of those error scenarios and what they need to do. And so, right, define the process so they know what to do. And also develop metrics. What are the most common errors and how can we prevent these errors, right? So the best way to resolve exceptions is not to have any exceptions. So the pilot is really heading toward a direction where we want to create collaborative resolution to prevent exceptions and also to manage exceptions if it does happen. And the pilot is going to unfold, right? Going through these stages. First, we're going to define the scenarios, then we're going to design process and solutions and alternatives to resolve these error scenarios. And then participants will execute, right? They will apply these alternatives and options to resolve exceptions. And then we're going to evaluate, like, which one is better? What is the duration of resolution using option A? You know, how is that better than option B? What is the practicality of applying these resolutions? And then with the ratify, we're going to come up with a process that everyone agrees the most practical, most accurate, and most qualified to handle those error scenarios. So here's an example of an error scenario. The scenario is the receiver does not have the product master data that's in the inbound EPCS data file, right? This is a very, very common issue that we see. And then there are options like, how do we resolve this? Is it the sender providing the receiver the master data? How do they provide it? Is it via template? Is it via a direct upload to the system? Is it via API? So the pilot will address all these issues and provide the participants the practical way to utilize all these different options and then come up with the one that's the best suitable for the entire supply chain. In the plan, so we're going to kick off this pilot January 11. This is a Wednesday, and the pilot will meet every other week on Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to go through 20 weeks. We'll have 20 participating companies and plus observers. This pilot is going to go through all different phases, right? We'll take the members of this pilot through all different phases so they get all their error scenarios flushed out. And toward the end, we'll evaluate and develop process, help members and the entire supply chain to have a playbook in place to handle those errors and most importantly, to prevent those errors. So this is an invitation for you to sign up for this pilot. Just by click the sign up link, you will be providing us your company name, your contact information, and your willingness to participate in this pilot. And so from there, you're going to get a pilot kit. So we'll send you materials, and if you need software, equipment, tools, we'll be sending that to you. So I do look forward to having you in this pilot, and we will have a meeting coming up in November to do an introduction and then start getting into identifying resources on your side and putting this pilot team together.